Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing with our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And right now we're taking up at chapter 6 of the 6th canto. This chapter is named The Progeny of the Daughters of Daksha. Text number 1. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, thereafter at the request of Lord Brahma, Prajapati Daksha, who is known as Prachetasa, begot 60 daughters in the womb of his wife Asikni. All the daughters were very affectionate toward their father." Purport. After the incidents concerning the loss of his many sons, Daksha repented his misunderstanding with Narada Muni. Lord Brahma then saw Daksha and instructed him to beget children again. This time Daksha was very cautious to beget female children instead of male children, so that Narada Muni would not disturb them by urging them to accept the renounced order. Females are not meant for the renounced order of life. They should be faithful to their good husbands. For if a husband is competent for liberation, his wife will also achieve liberation with him. As stated in the Shastra, the results of a husband's pious activities are shared by his wife. Therefore, a woman's duty is to be very chaste and faithful to her husband. Then, without separate endeavor, she will share in all the profit the husband earns. Text 2. He gave 10 daughters in charity to Dharmaraj, Yamaraj, 13 to Kashyapa, first 12 and then one more, 27 to the moon god, and 2 each to Angira, Krishashva, and Bhuta. The other 4 daughters were given to Kashyapa, thus Kashyapa received 17 daughters in all. 3. Now please hear from me the names of all these daughters and their descendants who filled all the 3 worlds. The 10 daughters given to Yamaraj were named Bhanu, Lamba, Kukud, Yami, Vishwa, Sadhya, Marutvati, Vasu, Muhurta, and Sankalpa. Now hear the names of their sons. O king, a son named Deva Rishabha was born from the womb of Bhanu, and from him came a son named Indrasena. From the womb of Lamba came a son named Vidyota, who generated all the clouds. Text 6.
From the womb of Kakud came the son named Sankata, whose son was named Kikata. From Kikata came the demigods named Durga. From Yami came the son named Swarga, whose son was named Nandi. Text 7. The sons of Vishwa were the Vishwadevas, who had no progeny. From the womb of Sadhya came the Sadhyas, who had a son named Artasiddhi. Text 8. The 2 sons who took birth from the womb of Marutpati were Marutvan and Jayanta. Jayanta, who is an expansion of Lord Vasudeva, is known as Upendra. Text 9. The demigods named Maurhutikas took birth from the womb of Muhurta. These demigods deliver the results of actions to the living entities of their respective times. The son of Sankapa was known as Sankalpa, and from him lust was born. The sons of Vasu were known as the 8 Vasus. Just hear their names from me: Drona, Prana, Dhruva, Arka, Agni, Dosha, Vastu, and Vibhavasu. From Abhimati, the wife of the Vasu named Drona, were generated sons named Harsha, Shoka, Baya, and so on. Urjasvati, the wife of Prana, gave birth to 3 sons named Saha, Ayus, and Purojava. The wife of Dhruva was known as Dharani, and from her womb various cities took birth. Text 13. From the womb of Vasana, the wife of Arka, came many sons, headed by Tarsha. Dara, the wife of the Vasu, named Agni, gave birth to many sons, headed by Dravanaksha. Text 14. From Kirtika, Dravanaksha? Dravanaka, I'm sorry. Whoa, good catch. That was a good catch. I mean, I'm rehearsing for these audiobooks, and I like to get it right, so thanks for that. You're so kind. Okay, text 14. Gosh, oh, gee whiz. From Kritika, another wife of Agni, came the son named Skanda, Kartikeya, whose sons were headed by Vishaka. From the womb of Sarvari, the wife of Vasu, named Dosha, came the son named Shishumara, who was an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 15. From Angirasi, the wife of the Vasu named Vastu, was born the great architect Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma became the husband of Akriti, from whom the Manu named Chakshusha was born. The sons of Manu were known as Vishwadevas and Sadhyas.
Usha, the wife of Vibhavasu, gave birth to 3 sons, Vyushta, Ruchisha, and Atapa. From Atapa came Panchayami, the span of day, who awakens all living entities to material activities. Sarupa, the wife of Bhuta, gave birth to the 10 million Rudras, of whom the 11 principal Rudras were Raivata, Aja, Bhava, Bhima, Vama, Ugra, Rashakapi, Ajay Kapat, Ahir Brahna, Bahurupa, and Mahan. Their associates, the ghosts and goblins, who are very fearful, were born of the other wife of Bhuta. Are you all getting all this? Okay. Purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Bhuta had 2 wives. One of them, Sarupa, gave birth to the 11 Rudras, and the other wife gave birth to the associates of the Rudras known as the ghosts and hobgoblins. The Prajapati Angira had 2 wives, named Swada and Sati. The wife named Swada accepted all the Pitas as her sons, and Sati accepted the Atharvangirasa Veda as her son. Krishashva had 2 wives, named Archis and Dishana. In the wife named Archis, he begot Dhumaketu. And in Dishana, he begot 4 sons named Vedashira, Devala, Vayuna, and Manu. Kashyapa, who was also named Tarksha, had 4 wives, Vinata, Suparna, Kadru, Patangi, and Yamini. Patangi gave birth to many kinds of birds, and Yamini gave birth to locusts. Vinata, Suparna, gave birth to Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, and to Anuru, or Aruna, the chariot driver of the sun god. Kadru gave birth to different varieties of serpents. Yes, sir? Here's your microphone.
Could you give some, explain a little bit about how it is that these personalities are giving birth to birds, locusts, How do we understand it? It seems very...
You want to pass that mic back because nobody can hear Maharaj except for me. You go right ahead and then I'll do mine right after you all.
These personalities are not ordinary personalities, and these things happen in different ways. They can happen in different ways. They can change their forms into whatever form they like, and if they have children when they're in that, having that form, the children become that form. That's one thing. They're all mystic yogis besides being Prajapatis. These are very high personalities.
You want to use that mic or? There's a lot of witnesses.
The whole world is my witness. No.
Why I oughta.
To the moon, Alice. One of these days, Alice. To the moon, Alice. That's all I know.
Thank you. Is that satisfactory for you?
It was mentioned before that one of these daughters gave birth
things are personified.
some cities.
Personified? Everything's personified. Everything starts from a personal level. Which is hard to understand in an impersonal world. O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Bharatas, the constellations named Kritika were all wives of the moon god. However, because Prajapati Daksha had cursed him to suffer from a disease causing gradual destruction, the moon god could not beget children in any of his wives. Purport, because the moon god was very much attached to Rohini, he neglected all his other wives. Therefore, seeing the bereavement of these daughters, Prajapati Daksha became angry and cursed him. 24th, 26th. What? You didn't get a purport? I'm sorry. Well, let me share mine with you. Purport. Because the moon god was very much attached to Rohini, he neglected all his other wives. Maybe it goes somewhere else. Thereafter, the king of the moon pacified Prajapati Daksha with courteous words and thus regained the portions of light he had lost during his disease. Nevertheless, he could not beget children. The moon loses his shining power during the dark fortnight, and in the bright fortnight it is manifest again. O King Parikshit, now please hear from me the names of Kashyap's wives, from whose wombs the population of the entire universe has come. From whose wombs? Names of Kashyap's wives. Other wives. From whose? Got it. Other wives. From whose wombs the population of the entire universe has come. They are the mothers of almost all the population of the entire universe, and their names are very auspicious to hear. They are Aditi, Diti, Danu, Kashta, Arishta, Surasa, Ila, Muni, Krodavasha, Tamra, Surabhi, Sarama, and Timi. From the wombs of Timi, all the aquatics took birth, and from the womb of Sarama, the ferocious animals like the tigers and lions took birth. My dear King Parikshit, from the womb of Surabhi, the buffalo, cow, and other animals with cloven hooves took birth. From the womb of Tamra, the eagles, vultures, and other large birds of prey took birth. And from the womb of Muni, the angels took birth. The sons born of Krodavasha were the serpents known as Dandashuka, as well as other serpents and the mosquitoes. All the various creepers and trees were born from the womb of Ila. The Rakshasas, bad spirits, were born from the womb of Surasa. The Gandharvas were born from the womb of Arishta, and animals whose hooves are not split, such as the horse, were born from the womb of Kashta. O king, from the womb of Danu came 61 sons, of whom these 18 were very important. Dvimurdha, Shambhara, Arishta, Hayagriva, Vibhabasu, Ayomukha, Shanku Shira, Swarbhanu, Kapila, Aruna, Puloma, Vrishaparva, Ekachakra, Anutapama, Dhumrakesh, Virupaksha, Viprachiti, and Durjai. The daughter of Swarbhanu, named Suprabha, was married by Namuchi. The daughter of Vrishaparva, named Sharmishta, was given to the powerful king Yayati, the son of Nahusha.
Text 33 through 36. Vaishvarana, the son of Danu, had 4 beautiful daughters named Upadanavi, Hayashira, Puloma, and Kalaka. Hiranyaksha married Upadanavi, and Kratu married Hayashira. Thereafter, at the request of Lord Brahma, Prajapati Kashyapa married Puloma and Kalaka, the other 2 daughters of Vaishvarana. From the wombs of these 2 wives of Kashyapa came 60,000 sons, headed by Nivata Kavacha, who were known as the Paulomas, and the Kalakeyas. They were physically very strong and expert in fighting, and their aim was to disturb the sacrifices performed by the great sages. My dear king, when your grandfather Arjuna went to the heavenly planets, he alone killed all these demons, and thus King Indra became extremely affectionate toward him. Text 37. In his wife Simika, Viprachiti begot 101 sons, of whom the eldest is Rahu, and the others are the 100 Ketus. All of them attained positions in the influential planets. Text 38 and 39. Now please hear me as I describe the descendants of Aditi in chronological order. In this dynasty, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, descended by his plenary expansion. The names of these sons of Aditi are as follows: Vibhaswan, Aryama, Pusha, Twashta, Savita, Bhaga, Data, Vidata, Varuna, Mitra, Shatru, and Urukrama. Text 40. Samgya, the wife of Vibhaswan, the sun god, gave birth to the Manu named Shadadeva. And the same fortunate wife also gave birth to the twins Yamaraj and the river Jamuna. Then, while wandering on the earth in the form of a mare, Samgya gave birth to the Ashwini Kumaras. Text 41. Oh, really? Yep. Double bubble. Chaya, another wife of the sun god, begot 2 sons named Shanaishchaya and Savarni Manu, and 1 daughter, Tapati, who married Samvarana. 42. From the mood of Matrika, the wife of Aryama, were born many learned scholars. Among them, Lord Brahma created the human species, which are endowed with an aptitude for self-examination. Text 43. Got that? Pusha had no sons. When Lord Shiva was angry at Daksha, Pusha had laughed to Lord Shiva and shown his teeth. Therefore he lost his teeth and had to live by eating only ground flour. Text 44. Rachana, the daughter of the Daityas, became the wife of Prajapati Twashta. By his semen, he begot in her womb 2 very powerful sons named Sanivesha and Vishwarupa. 45. Although Vishwarupa was the son of the daughter of their elder eternal enemies, the demons, the demigods accepted him as their priest, in accordance with the order of Brahma, when they were abandoned by their spiritual master, Brihaspati, whom they had disrespected. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 6th canto, 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Progeny of the Daughters of Daksha. We don't clap so loud for that because it was all about having kids. I mean, what's going on here? It's every syllable, you know? God.
Do you all have any comments or reflections or questions? Yes, Navina Nirada Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I like the point that it's all personal and everything's coming from people.
Yeah.
So
Kids know that.
yeah,
When they draw pictures, they always put a face on everything. Like if they draw a house, they'll put a little smiling face. They put a city, sun, smile. Originally, I mean, everything comes from a person.
so that means all the life forms, all the even deities or personifications of cities and of other, it's all people.
It is.
And these are the original people which were instrumental to make those personalities appear, and it's quite interesting how it's all there in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Like the secondary creation,
Yeah.
as far as what people are interested in, what they can.
The other thing is interesting is that as you go up in the universe, then the forms get more subtle, more subtle, more subtle, and more subtle. And in Satyaloka, it's like practically spiritual. You know, they have potencies and lifespans and things that we can't even imagine. Actually, we can't accommodate it and try to explain it from here, from this position. The only way you can understand it is to hear it submissively, without argument, and that's not an easy thing to do when a materially conditioned soul like we are, especially in the West, with all this scientific knowledge and everything, hear these things. Very hard for us just to accept without any argument, just to hear, completely submissively. But that's how you get it.
Other submissive inquiries? Yes.
My takeaway was don't upset Prajapati Daksha. It seems like...
Well, one thing is, you know, according to Madhva's class, is as soon as you start preaching, when you're going to upset somebody. I really appreciated his points, and it's unavoidable that when you take a stand, when you take some responsibility that I'm going to take a stand on some issue, then you're going to alienate people. Of course, you don't have to be obnoxious about it necessarily, but it definitely happens when you do that. And Narada Muni showed that he had to stand up to Daksha. I mean, it wasn't exactly that he stood up to him, he was feeling compassion for him. But he definitely went against what he knew would be Daksha's anger point, and he did it anyway because it was his duty and it was the right thing to do. And oftentimes, you know, whether it's Daksha or anybody else, if you know what the right thing is and you have a duty to do it, you have to make your point. Of course, it's always best to refine your communication so you don't offend the person's sensibilities on a personal level, but points have to be made. And I see it happen all the time, especially in the expansion of a movement. There's a lot of different ideas about the way things should be, but those who are mature and in leadership will come together and they'll hash things out, sometimes with a little bit of verve. But at the end, you know, they did their duty, and they'll come to a collective decision and move on, and it's kind of important. So I just wanted to say that, you know, it's not always that don't stand up to Daksha. You may have to stand up to Daksha at certain points. You for certain reasons. But I understand your point that he's hot-headed and temperamental and stuff like. But I just wanted to make the other side of the point.
The other point that Srila Prabhupada made that I think is interesting, and I was waiting to see if he was going to bring it up. If he would have, I wouldn't. But Prabhupada said the test of the effectiveness of our preaching can be determined by the polemic that it creates between the persons who are godly or believe in God and the people who don't believe in God. So he actually measured, sometimes he measured the effectiveness of our preaching based on the fact that it would actually make some people, upset.
Polemic comes from a Greek word which means to go to war.
Yeah,
right, Shami Prabhu?
What is that?
I thought you knew Greek.
What is that saying?
Tikanas kala.
What is that saying? You can please some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you can never please all the people all the time.
Any other points? Going, gone. Okay, almost. Last point.
It is said that the consciousness, while begetting a child, determines soul attracted. So if they beget children like Rakshasas and demons and reptiles, and does that mean?
I think it's a little different from that. Really, this creative period is a very unique time in the universe. It's they're doing their duty actually, and we have a sense of this in the modern age because of our technologies. We reproduce so many forms and sounds mystically through using technology. It's on a gross level. It's using yantra. But back then, they were doing their duty just as an engineer would do nowadays, and recreate certain kinds of items that are necessary in a project. And so it's not that they had degraded consciousness, and therefore, of course, in the case of Aditi, that example is there, that she gave birth to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaka because of that. But the wives of Daksha are part of a grand scheme, which is unfolding the way, what's his name, the great scholar who's a scientist who passed away? Sariputta Prabhu was explaining. It's like the codes are already there. They're already dialed in at the beginning of creation. It gets created again and again, constantly. I mean, it's constantly coming up again. And it's not that they have to start all over again. Everything's coded in, and then the people who are the conduits simply become facilitators for all these different forms of life to take birth. And some of them take birth asexually. They're just coming from the mind. They're manifesting from that subtle level to a gross level, and others are coming through sexual intercourse. And I think those are the whole category that comes from Daksha. But it's not that it's random or anything like that. These are codes that need to be enacted, and they're doing it as a duty, and they're bringing out these different forms of life that come out. 8,400,000 species. Of course, you can't hear anything without the mic. We might as well pass it back up again.
We've also heard already that all the souls, the subtle bodies of all the souls from the previous creation, are inside the body of Mahavishnu. And when they come out according to these codes that Vaisesika was talking about, and they come back into the same place they were and started up where they left off the last time.
And then
so
Krishna enters their heart and reminds them what they wanted to do in their last life. Asaugunamayir Bhavya Havi Prabhu.
And those codes are encoded within the Vedic hymns.
Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrabha.
Fascinating to hear how a particular Prajapati had 100 sons 100 children in one womb, one wife, with one wife. Definitely cannot be the way we conceive it. And once you speak about the mind and so it would be fascinating to find out in the Vedas. There must be some way to explain this. I'm fascinated by the idea that you can actually create through the mind.
You know,
when the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra was born in a certain way, like she was pregnant, and Kunti was pregnant, and Kunti gave birth to Yudhishthira before she did, and she was very upset because the senior son becomes the next inheritor. So she banged on her stomach, and and what came out was 100 lumps of flesh, and each one of them, took the opportunity of a soul, and they made 100 sons. So there's all kinds of
what
ways.
to speak of the original 49ers, which were the Maruts.
Oh yeah.
And Indra cut the womb into little pieces, and then
The embryos.
the embryos into little pieces, and they all became 49ers.
But the thing is, they were supposed to be enemies, but because Diti misspoke one of the mantras, they become actually friends. So they said to him, why are you doing this to us? We're your friends. And then he cut him again, and that 7 became 49.
Just about, one thing that strikes me about all this creation of living entities through the womb and so forth, there's a section in the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada describes how a yogi who had mystic powers thought, why should children be born from the womb? So he made them be born from trees. And they're like little babies, wah, 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 like hanging off the branches. And then when I read that, I was thinking, I just take it for granted babies are born from a womb. It's as arbitrary as any other thing. It's just that we take it for granted. That's how it works. But there's so many other different arrangements through which living entities can go through the process of incubation or whatever and then come out. We should get in touch with them and see if we can do a deal. That was some mystic yogi, and he said, I don't like the way babies are born from the womb. It's too much trouble. He came up with a new product, a baby tree. We're continuing. Where are we? Get out. Really? We clapped and everything, huh? Okay. Chapter 7. Indra offends his spiritual master, Brihaspati. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami, O great sage, why did the spiritual master of the demigods, Brihaspati, reject the demigods who were his own disciples? What offense did the demigods commit against their spiritual master? Please describe this incident to me. Purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, Saptame Guruna Tyaktair Devar Daitya Parajitai Vishvarupa Gurutvena Vrito Brahmo Padeshataha. This 7th chapter describes how Brihaspati was offended by the demigods, how he left them and the demigods were defeated, and how the demigods, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, accepted Vishwarup as the priest to perform their sacrifice. Text number 2 through 8. Talk about a daily double. Shukadev Goswami said, O king, once upon a time, the king of heaven, Indra, being extremely proud because of his great opulence of the 3 worlds, transgressed the law of Vedic etiquette. Seated on his throne, he was surrounded by the Maruts, Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Ribus, Vishwadevas, Sadhyas, Ashvini Kumaras, Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, and by the great saintly persons. Also surrounding him were the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, Patagas, birds, and Uragas, snakes. All of them were offering Indra their respects and services, and the Apsaras and Gandharvas were dancing and singing with very sweet musical instruments. Over Indra's head was a white umbrella, as effulgent as the full moon. Fanned by yak-tail whisks and served by all the paraphernalia of a great king, Indra was sitting with his wife, Shachi Devi, who occupied half the throne, when the great sage Brihaspati appeared in that assembly. Brihaspati, the best of the sages, was the spiritual master of Indra and the demigods, and was respected by the demigods and demons alike. Nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not rise from his own seat or offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show him respect. Brihaspati knew everything that would happen in the future. Seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette, he completely understood that Indra was puffed up by his material opulence. Although able to curse Indra, he did not do so. Instead, he left the assembly and in silence returned to his home. Indra, the king of heaven, could immediately understand his mistake. Realizing he had disrespected his spiritual master, he condemned himself in the presence of all the members of the assembly. Alas, what a regrettable deed I have committed because of my lack of intelligence and my pride in my material opulences. I failed to show respect to my spiritual master when he entered this assembly, and thus I have insulted him. Although I am king of the demigods, who are situated in a mode of goodness, I was proud of a little opulence and polluted by false ego. Under the circumstances, who in this world would accept such riches at the risk of falling down? Alas, I condemn my wealth and opulence. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundaring, kavitam, bhajagadisha kamaye. O my Lord, I do not aspire for material opulence or wealth, nor do I want a great number of followers to accept me as their leader, nor do I want a very beautiful wife to please me. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktirahituki tvai. I do not even want liberation. All I want, life after life, is to be a faithful servant of your Lordship. According to the laws of nature, when one is extremely opulent, one becomes degraded. And this is true both individually and collectively. The demigods are situated in the mode of goodness, but sometimes even one who is situated in such an exalted position as King Indra, the king of all the demigods, falls down because of material opulence. We are now actually seeing this in America. The entire American nation has tried to advance in material opulence without striving to produce ideal human beings. The result is that Americans are now regretting the wholesale criminality of American society. This is prescient. Sixth canto, this is 1975 and a half. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? The result is that Americans are now regretting the wholesale criminality of American society and are wondering how America has become so lawless and unmanageable. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nate vidu swarta katim hi vishnum, persons who are unenlightened do not know the aim of life, which is to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, both individually and collectively, they try to enjoy so-called material comforts, and they become addicted to wine and women. The men produced in such a society are less than fourth class. Absolutely. They are the unwanted population known as Varna Sankara. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita, an increase of Varna Sankara population creates a hellish society. This is the society in which Americans now find themselves. Fortunately, however, the Hare Krishna movement has come to America, and many fortunate young men and men are giving serious attention to this movement, which is creating ideal men of first-class character, men who completely refrain from meat-eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. If the American people are serious about curbing the degraded criminal life of their nation, they must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and try to create the kind of human society advised in Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. They must divide their society into first-class men, second-class men, third-class men, and fourth-class men. Since they are now creating only men who are less than fourth class, how can they avoid the dangers of a criminal society? Long, long ago, Lord Indra regretted his disrespect to his spiritual master, Brihaspati. Similarly, it is advised that the American people regret their mistaken advancement in civilization. They should take advice from the spiritual master, the representative of Krishna. If they do so, they will be happy, and theirs will be an ideal nation to lead the entire world. Point. Case in point.
I'd like to express my gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. This last time, before I came to India, this time, we were on, I don't remember exactly where we were, in the Bhagavatam, but we were reading the Bhagavatam every night in Houston, Texas, of all places. And all of a sudden, within, 3 weeks, at least 12 or more young men, and here's one of the examples, the proof of the pudding, sitting over there, Bhakta Mat, and they heard straight the Bhagavatam. There was practically nothing else that they heard. They just heard the Bhagavatam straight, and they started coming every night, or more than a few times a week.
I think there was 16 on the night.
Yeah, there were 16 on the night that I left. And they were all responding the same way. We've had enough, and this is the real thing. There were 2 of them that came right out and said, Maharaj, this is the real thing, isn't it? And they're all just waiting for us to come back. He's in touch with them more than I am, isn't it? I mean, I'm talking about from 18-year-old girl right out of high school to one girl in junior college who, when she heard all this heavy stuff about women and this and that and the other thing, and she came up to, I don't remember who, after the reading. I went to my room and she said, yeah, I figured this out when I was about 18. So it's just an example of the potential that is there if we actually do this, and more people get out and read the Bhagavatam straight, in public, and give an opportunity. And we didn't do any advertisement, nothing. It was just Krishna in the heart, just brought the ones in who were actually very receptive. So this is a big positive
Example what you're talking
example what Prabhupada's talking about. Be example. Hare Krishna. Text 13. Is it? Yes. If a person says, one who is situated on the exalted throne of a king should not stand up to show respect to another king or brahmana, it is to be understood that he does not know the superior religious principles. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this regard that when a president or king is sitting on his throne, he does not need to show respect to everyone who comes within his assembly, but he must show respect to superiors like the spiritual master, brahmanas, and Vaishnavas. There are many examples of how he should act. When Lord Krishna was sitting on his throne and Narada fortunately entered his assembly, even Lord Krishna immediately stood up with his officers and ministers to offer respectful obeisances to Narada. Narada knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna knew that Narada was his devotee. But although Krishna is the Supreme Lord and Narada is the Lord's devotee, the Lord observed the religious etiquette. Since Narada was a brahmachari, a brahmana, and an exalted devotee, even Krishna, while acting as a king, offered his respectful obeisances unto Narada. Such is the conduct visible in the Vedic civilization, a civilization in which the people do not know how the representative of Narada and Krishna should be respected, how a society should be formed, and how one should advance in Krishna consciousness. A society concerned only with manufacturing new cars and new skyscrapers every year, and then breaking them to pieces and making new ones, may be technologically advanced, but it is not a human civilization. A human civilization is advanced when its people follow the Chaturvarnya system, the system of 4 orders of life. There must be ideal first-class men to act as advisors, second-class men to act as administrators, third-class men to produce food and protect cows, and fourth-class men who obey the 3 higher classes of society. One who does not follow the standard system of society should be considered a 5th-class man. A society without Vedic laws and regulations will not be very helpful to humanity. As stated in this verse, dharmam te na param vidu, such a society does not know the aim of life and the highest principle of religion. Text 14. Leaders who have fallen into ignorance and who mislead people by directing them to the path of destruction, as described in the previous verse, are in effect boarding a stone boat, and so too are those who blindly follow them. A stone boat would be unable to float and would sink in the water with its passengers. Similarly, those who mislead people go to hell, and their followers go with them. Purport. As stated in Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-17, Nrideham Ajam Subalam Sidurlabam Plavam Sakalpam Guru Karnagdaram. We, the conditioned souls, have fallen into the ocean of nations, but the human body fortunately provides us a good opportunity to cross the ocean because the human body is like a very good boat. When directed by a spiritual master, acting as the captain, the boat can very easily cross the ocean. Furthermore, the boat is helped to cross by favorable winds, which are the instructions of Vedic knowledge. If one does not take advantage of all these facilities to cross the ocean of nations, he is certainly committing suicide. One who boards a boat made of stone is doomed. To be elevated to the stage of perfection, humanity must first give up false leaders who present boats of stone. All of human society is in such a dangerous position that to be rescued, it must abide by the standard instructions of the Vedas. The cream of these instructions appears in the form of Bhagavad Gita. One should not take shelter of any other instructions, for Bhagavad Gita gives direct instructions on how to fulfill the aim of human life. Lord Sri Krishna therefore says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all other processes of religion and simply surrender to me. Even if one does not accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his instructions are so exalted and beneficial for humanity that if one follows his instructions, one will be saved. Otherwise, one will be cheated by unauthorized meditation and gymnastic methods of yoga. Thus, one will board a boat of stone, which will sink and drown all its passengers. No, it's a comma. That means it's corrected. Unfortunately, although the American people are extremely eager to get out of materialistic chaos, they are sometimes found to patronize the makers of stone boats. That will not help them. They must take the proper boat offered by Krishna in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. Then they will be easily saved. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, Ashmamayak plavo yesham te yata majatam plavam anubhajanti tateti rajanit yupadreshtishu swasabhyeshu kopa vyanjitaha. Kopo vyanjitaha. Kopo Kovana. If society is guided by political diplomacy, with one nation maneuvering against another, it will certainly sink like a stone boat. Political maneuvering and diplomacy will not save human society. People must take to Krishna consciousness to understand the aim of life, to understand God, and to fulfill the human mission.
One small comment, just that it strikes me oftentimes how Prabhupada turned his merciful glance towards America. Because America, I mean, the timing and the way the people were is the frontier leading the whole world in materialism and so forth. But Prabhupada gives a lot of mercy here. He's directing all this towards Americans.
Yeah.
And so people who happen to have been born in America got a lot of special mercy from Prabhupada's glance. And he put a lot of his blessings into that whole, of course the whole world, but that's where he started. You know, his heart was there.
Just really quick, I was noting that Prabhupada says, political maneuvering and diplomacy will not save human society. People have to take to Krishna consciousness. And that earlier, I think, a fifth canto, that the degraded condition of laments and therefore dedicates himself more and more to the Krishna consciousness movement and spreading it. So it's really like a very clear instruction not to get into politics and wrangling and all these things that capture the mind, and the news cycle kind of is meant to try and get us to be distracted. But Prabhupada said, no, if you care about how the world is going to hell, then you spread Krishna consciousness.
And I would, I'm sorry, no, you beat me. You beat me to it. No, it was a no. It was a no. What is that? What is that kind of nose by the nose? No. Photographic. What's the saying? When the raisin is right. Photo finish. It was a photo finish. But you beat me. I saw it with my own eyes.
I forgot what I was going to say.
I forgot what I say also, so that must not have been very important.
Anybody else?
It's more like a question. Is that okay or no?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's very much okay.
Okay.
Questions and lots of discussion. More discussion.
So it's like nowadays, it seems that people are less attracted to, or some devotees are saying that we should present the Krishna consciousness in a non-sectarian way, that it doesn't appear sectarian. Yet we find in this purpose, Prabhupada is really kind of ruling out anything else apart from Krishna consciousness as an effective means of perfecting our lives. And anyone who reads this will, obviously we know it's non-sectarian, but it appears to be that this is the only way. So I'm just wondering what is the validity, or what is the balance of how we present Krishna consciousness in a non-sectarian. Should we do it like that or should we not? Is the question clear? I don't know if I made it too. Yeah.
What do you mean by sectarian, sir?
He knows the art. This is the master asker, right here. The master asker. Sorry.
Meaning like a group of people who are right and everybody else has got it wrong, and like the principles of Krishna consciousness are universal. Once we embrace Krishna consciousness, we know it and it's applicable in any situation. But when we first read about it, it seems that you have to give up who you are and give up your family and give up your personality, everything, to join a cult, the Lord Chaitanya's cult. I'm using the word cult in a good sense, not in a bad sense.
Yeah, people who follow a culture, a certain culture.
We don't find that. we find, at least in America, that people respond well when we present Krishna consciousness in an inclusive way, in a way that's encouraging, that bridges the gaps that may already be there in their minds. Preachers, those who teach Krishna consciousness, have to anticipate what the possible traps might be in people's minds, where they might be waylaid thinking one thing or another. For instance, oftentimes people in America, having an independent spirit, say that I'm not interested in organized religion. This is a common thing.
Don't worry about
so
that.
So what they're trying to say is they don't like sectarianism, they don't like dogma. So if somebody knows ahead of time what they mean by that, they live in that particular culture and they understand that, then they can present in such a way that people can take to Krishna consciousness. In Italy, Trados, when he goes around door to door, he presents it. He said, this teaches you how to be able to overcome anger and not become angry. Because apparently they're hot-blooded or something like that. They get angry a lot and they go, ooh, this is amazing to be able to take that. So Prabhupada talks about how realization means to be able to represent what the Acharya has said without screwing out a new meaning and without trying to surpass the previous Acharya, but doing it in a way that is in language that people can appreciate. It's accommodating. That's really mercy, to be able to do that.
Realization, that's realization.
It's realization.
That's his definition of realization.
It's Prabhupada's definition of
Bhagavatam
realization.
1.4.1 purport.
Besides the strict dictionary meaning of sect, people nowadays use it mostly as meaning something which is not universal. So sectarian means not universal, means it does not apply to everybody. So it applies to a group of small people who want to...
Small group of people.
Yeah, small group of...
Huh?
So if we manage to show that what we preach is universal, applies to everybody, then we do a good job. Otherwise, sometimes people get the wrong impression that what we present is not applicable to their particular situation, and this is our lack of brains to present in the appropriate way according to their time, place, situation, stuff.
It's interesting because in America right now, the polls show that people are less, especially after this whole thing that just happened with the Catholic Church, with all this expose of the pedophiles and abuse and all that. They say we're not interested in organized religion, but we want to be spiritual. So it's a key word in America. If you talk about being spiritual, it wakes people. I mean, people are not. They don't want. It's not that they don't want to be spiritual. It's not that they want to. They don't want to. They want it, but they just they're losing faith in the what how do you call it? The orthodox, mainstream, organized religion. Yeah.
So Bhakti Matt, do young people today like this idea of organized sectarian religion?
Kind of, but I don't think so. People don't like organized religion, but people don't like groups that feel that they have a monopoly on God. So I feel Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada always says if you're a Christian, practice being a Christian and you'll go to Godhead. But most people don't practice being Christians. They eat meat and they do all kinds, they have illicit sex, they do all kinds of things. So Krishna allows people to access God in a way that's non-sectarian.
Does that satisfy you?
It does. Just one little thing, because Prabhupada continuously, for example, in his purport, Prabhupada, I'm satisfied with the comments very much, but just for my final understanding, that Prabhupada often, in the purpose, he uses the term the Krishna consciousness movement, and he is, repeatedly. And sometimes when we are present this, even if I'm reading this purport to a new person, you may feel a bit like...
Here, I got...
Srila Prabhupada.
No, you're first. You're first.
Srila Prabhupada invited all the religious people of the world to join him in this mission of spreading God consciousness. So I think it's inclusive how Prabhupada means the Krishna consciousness movement. I don't think he limits it to the physical or geographical location of ISKCON and its centers, but people who are joining hands in this great cause of spreading God consciousness.
Well, we just heard it just a few ports ago about... Okay.
I really appreciate your point. And Prabhupada went out of his way to include scholars and scientists, philosophers, and religionists. And at the same time, when he'd meet with them, he didn't allow them to cheat. For instance, there's a famous discussion between Prabhupada and a famous yogi of the time. I won't mention his name. But in the conversation, Prabhupada was relentless on insisting that he be very clear about who God is, because the person was being evasive when it came to saying, you could worship anything, anyone, anytime, like who is God? And he would say, well, it's a big secret. And Prabhupada said, no, it's not. It's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. Do you accept or not accept? And if you don't accept, then tell us who your form of God is. So he was inclusive, but philosophically he was extremely precise, because he saw that as the Acharya, it was extremely important for the world to set the standard that you can't just say anything in the name of religion. You actually have to have a science behind it in order to help the people of the world, and that's what he was concerned with.
Well, excuse me. I'm not good, but I'm trying. The point I would make on this point is that it's not ever, one way or another, black and white. It's not like that. But, we have, Prabhupada said the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the beginning, and we should have mass chanting all over the world. And this is going to increase the piety of those people who do chant and hear the chanting. But I've been finding over the last 5 years, since I've been doing this reading every day seriously with the vow, and everybody who's coming around to hear in that way, I'm finding that if I invest my energy in those who are actually responding positively, and not necessarily putting my energy, in the other thing that needs to be done, must be done, for the masses of people must be done. But some of us have to start to invest our energy on those who are responding and with intelligence, and then we will get the thing that we want. Young people who are committed. I got one example here, and who can become potential leaders of this movement when we leave. And I think this is extremely important. And so we should devise methods of filtering the persons who do kind of wake up, and people are going to wake up at different levels, at different times, in different ways, in different speeds. And we have to, some of us have to be there to bring those people, and we should have, in all of our temples and centers and wherever we're preaching, a way of bringing those people in to those of us who are perhaps a little more mature or, dedicated to that style and that way of preaching. And we should do this. We really need to do this. It's super important. I was thinking.
Through the years, we have had challenges when people hear Sarva Dharma Parijaya and the translation, we have it as religion. You have to give up all religion. And when somebody asks you, do I have to live my religion? You say, no, you don't have to. But it is written here in the book that you have to give up all religion. Why do we have to explain ourselves instead of saying the right thing from the book?
Well, not only do I don't mind, I insist.
Because that's our job, to explain it. That's what parampara means. I mean, there's never a time in which we're given the message, we bequeath the message, and that we don't have to also turn around and explain it. There are multiple cultures, and then the eras that we enter into are different. The way we explain it, the way we explained it back in the 60s is different, or 70s, I can say for myself, is different from the way we present now. And I remember a marked difference in the 80s. My point is that it's never going to be handed to us in a way that we don't have to do our part to write what things mean and also explain what they mean and unpack them and things like that. I mean, that's our service, to represent it like that.
I completely agree with that, and I just wanted to say that as someone who still remembers, coming to Krishna consciousness from to me, we're able to and willing to show how it's internally consistent and externally consistent, which means that whatever's being said in the books, Guru and Sadhu, can be reconciled within the tradition properly without becoming inconsistent. It means the person's actually knew Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra very well. It means they could show how what it's saying applies to what we can see with our own senses and logic, and whatever other processes we have about the external world, and they can present it in that way. So it ceases to be like a self-contained kind of belief system. It's actually internally consistent, means that it actually makes sense within its own world, and then externally consistent means it actually, whatever is being said in there applies to reality. And that's what science is. Those are two of the main things that constitute a scientific endeavor. Is it actually makes sense within itself, and does it apply to the world you're claiming to observe? That's pretty much what you're saying.
Thank you.
When we present the books, sometimes people come up with this point. So, do I have to give up my religion? And what I tell them is that mundane belief in and functions and impressing people, it's the heart of it, it's the essence, and that's what Krishna is telling, that all these dharmas are external, but you have to come to the higher level of Sanatana Dharma. People agree to that. They're in with that.
Oftentimes when people ask me, say, is this organized religion? And then they say, is this some religion? They have that mood as soon as you show them that says, is this religion? So what they actually mean is this, so I answer and I say, no, this completely rejects all religious activities that are materially motivated. And it propounds the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. No, because it's like, is this religion? No, this completely rejects all religious principles that are materially motivated. Because that's what they're thinking. And the Bhagavatam answers them precisely, exactly what they wanted to hear. And they go, wow, this is what I've been waiting for.
You open up the page and you just read that to them and they go, whoa. Do. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Did we finish this purport?
Another point is we have to connect that verse, which is, the ultimate, the conclusion, to all the other verses, and explain it the way Prabhupada explains it all the way through the book. He's appealing to the Kshatriya anger and pride at one point. If you don't do this, then you're just going to get, people are going to badmouth you, they're going to call you a coward, and what's going to be more painful for you than that? Then, the Ashtanga yoga system, control the senses, do this, and all these things fit into some way the different religious processes around the world. But ultimately, as Naveen said, it's one. Religion is one. And all these are coming from the same place. You accept there's one God, and that's what Sarvadharma and Prijana means. You accept there's one God and act to his instructions and the principles. People will accept it.
And that brings us to the cow break. We'll see you all back here at 20 minutes after. Gaur Premanande Haribol. We're continuing with our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're now on Canto 6, taking up at chapter 7, text number 15. King Indra said, "Therefore, with great frankness and without duplicity, I shall now bow my head at the lotus feet of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. Because he is in the mode of goodness, he is fully aware of all knowledge and is the best of the Brahmanas. Now I shall touch his lotus feet and offer my obeisances unto him to try to satisfy him." Purport. Coming to his senses, King Indra realized that he was not a very sincere disciple of his spiritual master, Brihaspati. Therefore he decided that henceforward he would be a nishata. He would be nishata, non-duplicitous. Nishata shirshna touch charanam sprishan. He decided to touch his head to the feet of his spiritual master. From this example, we should learn this principle enunciated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. Yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is benedicted by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. A disciple should never be a hypocrite or be unfaithful to his spiritual master. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11.17.27, the spiritual master is also called Acharya. Acharya Mam Vijaniyan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, says that one should respect the spiritual master, accepting him as the Lord himself. Navamanyeta kadhichit. One should not disrespect the Acharya at any time. Namartya budyasu yeta. One should never think the Acharya an ordinary person. Familiarity sometimes breeds contempt, but one should be very careful in one's dealings with the Acharya. Agara dishanam dvijam. The Acharya is a perfect Brahmana and has unlimited intelligence in guiding the activities of his disciple. Therefore Krishna advises in Bhagavad Gita 4.34, Tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti de jnanam yaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. One should fully surrender unto the spiritual master, and with service, sevaya, one should approach him for further spiritual enlightenment. While Indra, the king of the demigods, thought in this way and repented in his own assembly, Brihaspati, the most powerful spiritual master, understood his mind. Thus he became invisible to Indra and left home, for Brihaspati was spiritually more powerful than King Indra. Although Indra searched vigorously with the assistance of the other demigods, he could not find Brihaspati. Then Indra thought, "Alas, my spiritual master has become dissatisfied with me, and now I have no means of achieving good fortune." Although Indra was surrounded by demigods, he could not find peace of mind. Hearing of the pitiable condition of King Indra, the demons, following the instructions of their guru, Sukracharya, equipped themselves with weapons and declared war against the demigods. The demigods' heads, thighs and arms, and other parts of their bodies were injured by the sharp arrows of the demons. The demigods, headed by Indra, saw no other course than to immediately approach Lord Brahma with bowed heads for shelter and proper instruction. When the most powerful Lord Brahma saw the demigods coming toward him, their bodies gravely injured by the arrows of the demons, he pacified them by his great causeless mercy and spoke as follows.
Text 21. Lord Brahma said, "O best of the demigods, unfortunately, because of madness, resulting from your material opulence, you failed to receive Brihaspati properly when he came to your assembly. Because he is aware of the Supreme Brahman and fully in control of his senses, he is the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, it is very astonishing that you have acted impudently toward him. Purport. Lord Brahma recognized the Brahminical qualifications of Brihaspati, who was the spiritual master of the demigods, because of his awareness of the Supreme Brahman. Brihaspati was very much in control of his senses and mind, and therefore he was a most qualified Brahmana. Lord Brahma chastised the demigods for not properly respecting this Brahmana, who was their guru. Lord Brahma wanted to impress upon the demigods that one's guru should not be disrespected under any circumstances. When Brihaspati entered the assembly of the demigods, they and their king, Indra, took him for granted. Since he came every day, they thought, they did not need to show him special respect. As it is said, familiarity breeds contempt. Being very much displeased, Brihaspati immediately left Indra's palace. Thus all the demigods, headed by Indra, became offenders at the lotus feet of Brihaspati. And Lord Brahma, being aware of this, condemned their neglect. In a song we sing every day, Narottam Das Thakur says, Chakshu Dana Dilo Jay, Janmi Janmi Prabhu say. The Guru gives spiritual insight to the disciple, and therefore the Guru should be considered his master, life after life. Under no circumstances should the Guru be disrespected, but the demigods, being puffed up by their material possessions, were disrespectful to their Guru. Therefore Srimad Bhagavatam advises, Acharyamam vijani yan navamanyeta karachit namartya buddhyasu yeta. The Acharya should always be offered respectful obeisances. One should never envy the Acharya, considering him an ordinary human being. Text 22. Because of your misbehavior toward Brihaspati, you have been defeated by the demons. My dear demigods, since the demons were weak, having been defeated by you several times, how else could you, who are so advanced in opulence, be defeated by them? Purport. The Devas were celebrated for fighting with the Asuras perpetually. The Devas are celebrated for fighting with the Asuras perpetually. In such fights the Asuras were always defeated. But this time the demigods were defeated. Why? The reason, as stated here, was that they had offended their spiritual master. Their impudent disrespect of their spiritual master was the cause of their defeat by the demons. As stated in the Shastras, when one disrespects a respectable superior, one loses his longevity and the results of his pious activities, and in this way one is degraded. 23. O Indra, your enemies, the demons, were extremely weak because of their disrespect toward Shukracharya. But since they have now worshipped Shukracharya with great devotion, they have again become powerful. By their devotion to Shukracharya, they have increased their strength so much that now they are able even to easily seize my abode from me. Purport. Lord Brahma wanted to point out to the demigods that by the strength of the Guru, one can become most powerful within this world, and by the displeasure of the Guru, one can lose everything. This is confirmed by the song of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Katopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is benedicted by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Although the demons are insignificant in comparison to Lord Brahma, because of the strength of their Guru, they were so powerful that they could even seize Brahmaloka from Lord Brahma. We therefore pray to the spiritual master. Mukkam karurivachalam pankum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande shigarum dinatadanam. Bhavarta Dipika commentary on Srimad 11, Bhagavatam 111. By the mercy of the Guru, even a dumb man can become the greatest orator, and even a lame man can cross mountains. As advised by Lord Brahma, one should remember this Shastric injunction if one desires success in life. Text 24. Because of their firm determination to follow the instructions of Shukracharya, his disciples, the demons, are now unconcerned about the demigods. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith in the mercy of Brahmanas, cows, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and who always worship these three, are always strong in their position.
On text number 18 in the translation.
18, that's a long ways ago. Do you want me to go there? Really? Where am I now? 24. 18, 17, 18.
Go down in the translation. Okay, it's fixed.
Well, that's nice to know, isn't it? Isn't it? Especially since you're the communication guy for the PBT trustees. 24. Commentary. From the instructions of Lord Brahma, it is understood that everyone should very faithfully worship the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the cows. I thought I did. Because of their firm determination to follow the instructions of Shukracharya, I did this. His disciples, the demons, are now unconcerned about the demigods. We read this. Everfresh. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith in the mercy of Brahmanas, cows, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and who always worship these three, are always strong in their position. Purport. From the instructions of Lord Brahma, it is understood that everyone should very faithfully worship the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the cows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. He is always very kind to cows and Brahmanas. Therefore, one who worships Govinda must satisfy him by worshipping the Brahmanas and cows. If a government worships the Brahmanas, the cows, and Krishna, Govinda, if a government worships the Brahmanas, the cows, and Krishna, Govinda, it is never defeated anywhere. Otherwise, it must always be defeated and condemned everywhere. At the present moment, all over the world, governments have no respect for Brahmanas, cows, and Govinda. And consequently, there are chaotic conditions all over the world. In summary, although the demigods were very powerful in material opulence, the demons defeated them in battle because the demigods had behaved disrespectfully toward a Brahmana, Brihaspati, who was their spiritual master. Text 25. O demigods, I instruct you to approach Vishwarupa, the son of Twashta, and accept him as your guru. He is a pure and very powerful Brahmana, undergoing austerity and penances. Pleased by your worship, he will fulfill your desires, provided that you tolerate his being inclined to side with the demons. Now this is a test. Purport. Lord Brahma advised the demigods to accept the son of Twashta as their spiritual master, although he was always inclined toward the benefit of the asuras.
26. Srila Shukadeva Goswami continued, thus advised by Lord Brahma, and relieved of their anxiety, all the demigods went to the sage Vishvarupa, the son of Twashta. My dear king, they embraced him and spoke as follows. The demigods said, Beloved Vishvarupa, may there be all good fortune for you. We, the demigods, have come to your ashrama as your guests. Please try to fulfill our desires according to the time, since we are on the level of your parents. O Brahmana, the highest duty of a son, even though he has sons of his own, is to serve his parents. And what to speak of a son who is a brahmachari? The Acharya, the spiritual master who teaches all the Vedic knowledge and gives initiation by offering the sacred thread, is the personification of all the Vedas. Similarly, a father personifies Lord Brahma, a brother King Indra, a mother the planet Earth, and a sister Mercy. A guest personifies religious principles. An invited guest personifies the demigod Agni, and all living entities personify Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. According to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, Atmavat Sarvabhuteshu, one should observe all living entities to be on the same level as oneself. This means that no one should be neglected as inferior, because Paramatma is seated in everyone's body. Everyone should be respected as a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This verse describes the different ways in which one should respect a guru, a father, a brother, a sister, a guest, and so on.
Well done, I might add. Text 31. Dear son, we have been defeated by our enemies, and therefore we are very much aggrieved. Please mercifully fulfill our desires by relieving our distress through the strength of your austerities. Please fulfill our prayers. 32. Since you are completely aware of the Supreme Brahman, you are a perfect Brahmana, and therefore you are the spiritual master of all orders of life. We accept you as our spiritual master and director, so that by the power of your austerity we may easily defeat the enemies who have conquered us. Purport. One must approach a particular type of guru to execute a particular type of duty. Therefore, although Vishwarupa was inferior to the demigods accepted him as their guru to conquer the demons. 33. The demigods continued, do not fear criticism for being younger than us. Such etiquette does not apply in regard to Vedic mantras. Except in relationship to Vedic mantras, seniority is determined by age. But one may offer respectful obeisances even to a younger person who is advanced in chanting Vedic mantras. Therefore, although you are junior in relationship to us, you may become our priest without hesitation. Purport. It is said, Vidat Bam Vaisesika. One may be senior without being advanced in age. Even if one is not old, one gains seniority if he is senior in knowledge. Vishwarupa was junior in relationship to the demigods because he was their nephew, but the demigods wanted to accept him as their priest, and therefore he would have to accept obeisances from them. The demigods explained that this should not be a cause for hesitation. He could become their priest because he was advanced in Vedic knowledge. Similarly, Chanakya Pandit advises, Nichad apyutamam jnanam. One may accept education from a member of a lower social order. The Brahmanas, the members of the most elevated Varna, are teachers, but a person in a lower family, such as a family of Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or even Shudras, may be accepted as a teacher if he has knowledge. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved of this when he expressed this opinion before Ramananda Roy. Kiba vipra kiba nyasi shudra keni noi, ye Krishna tatma veta say guru hoy. It does not matter whether one is a Brahmana, Shudra, Grihastha, or Sannyasi. These are all material designations. A spiritually advanced person has nothing to do with such designations. Therefore, if one is advanced in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his position in human society, he may become a spiritual master. Text 34. Shukadeva Goswami continued, when all the demigods requested the great Vishwarupa to be their priest, Vishwarupa, who was advanced in austerities, was very pleased. He replied to them as follows. Shri Vishwarupa said, O demigods, although the acceptance of priesthood is decried as causing the loss of previously acquired Brahminical power, how can someone like me refuse to accept your personal request? You are all exalted commanders of the entire universe. I am your disciple and must take many lessons from you. Therefore, I cannot refuse you. I must agree for my own benefit. Purport. The professions of a qualified Brahmana are Patana, Patana, Yajana, Yajana, Dana, and Pratigraha. The words Yajana and Yajana mean that a Brahmana becomes the priest of the populace for the sake of their elevation. One who accepts the post of spiritual master neutralizes the sinful reactions of the Yajamana, the one on whose behalf he performs yajna. Thus the results of the pious acts previously performed by the priest or spiritual master are diminished. Therefore priesthood is not accepted by learned Brahmanas. Nevertheless, the greatly learned Brahmana Vishwarupa became the priest of the demigods because of his profound respect for them.
O exalted governors of various planets, the true Brahmana, who has no material possessions, maintains himself by the profession of accepting shilochana. In other words, he picks up grains left in the field and on the ground in the wholesale marketplace. By this means, householder Brahmanas who actually abide by the principles of austerity and penance maintain themselves and their families and perform all necessary pious activities. A Brahmana who desires to achieve happiness by gaining wealth through professional priesthood must certainly have a very low mind. How shall I accept such priesthood? Purport: a first-class Brahmana does not accept any rewards from his disciples or yajamanas. Practicing austerities and penances, he instead goes to the agricultural field and collects food grains left by the agriculturalists to be collected by Brahmanas. Similarly, such Brahmanas go to marketplaces where grains are purchased and sold wholesale, and there they collect grains left by the merchants. In this way, such exalted Brahmanas maintain their bodies and families. Such priests never demand anything from their disciples to live in opulence, imitating Kshatriyas or Vaishyas. In other words, a pure Brahmana voluntarily accepts a life of poverty and lives in complete dependence on the mercy of the Lord. Not very many years ago, a Brahmana in Krishnanagar, near Navadvip, was offered some help from the local zamindar, Vraja Krishna Chandra. The Brahmana refused to accept the help. He said that since he was very happy in his householder life, taking rice given by his disciples and cooking vegetables of tamarind leaves, there was no question of taking help from the zamindar. The conclusion is that although a Brahmana may receive much opulence from his disciples, he should not utilize the rewards of his priesthood for his personal benefit. He must use them for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 37. All of you are my superiors. Therefore, although accepting priesthood is sometimes reproachable, I cannot refuse even a small request from you. I agree to be your priest. I shall fulfill your request by dedicating my life and possessions. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, O king, after making this promise to the demigods, the exalted Vishwarup, surrounded by the demigods, performed the necessary priestly activities with great enthusiasm and attention. Purport: the word samadhina is very important. Samadhi means complete absorption with an undiverted mind. Vishwarup, who was a most learned Brahmana, not only accepted the request of the demigods, but took their request seriously and performed the activities of priesthood with an undiverted mind. In other words, he accepted the priesthood not for material gain, but to profit the demigods. Such is the duty of a priest. The word puraha means family, and hita means benefit. Thus the word purohita indicates that the priest is the well-wisher of the family. Another meaning of the word pura is first. A priest's first duty is to see that his disciples benefit spiritually and materially by all means. Then he is satisfied. A priest should never be interested in performing Vedic rituals for his personal benefit. 39. The opulence of the demons, who are generally known as the enemies of the demigods, was protected by the talents and tactics of Shukracharya, but Vishwarup, who is most powerful, composed a protective prayer known as the Narayana Kavacha. By this intelligent mantra, he took away the opulence of the demons and gave it to Mahendra, the king of heaven. Purport. The distinction between the demigods, devas, and demons, asuras, is that the demigods are all devotees of Lord Vishnu, whereas the demons are devotees of demigods like Lord Shiva, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Durga. Sometimes the demons are also devotees of Lord Brahma. Sometimes the demons are also devotees of Lord Brahma. For example, Hiranyakashipu was a devotee of Lord Brahma. Ravana was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and Mahishasura was a devotee of Goddess Durga. The demigods are devotees of Lord Vishnu, Vishnu Bhakta Smito Daiva. Whereas the demons, Asuras Tadviparyayo, are always against the Vishnu Bhaktas or Vaishnavas. To oppose the Vaishnavas, the demons became devotees of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Kali, Durga, and so on. In the days of yore, that's what Ruchi used to say when he was distributing books. Back in the days of yore, when men were men and kings were kings. In the days of yore, many long years ago, there was animosity between the devas and the asuras, and the same spirit still continues, for the devotees of Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga are always envious of Vaishnavas. For devotees of Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga are always envious of Vaishnavas, who are devotees of Lord Vishnu. This strain between the devotees of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu has always existed. In the higher planetary systems, fights between the demons and the demigods continue for a long, long time. Herein we see that Vishwarup made for the demigods a protective covering saturated with the Vishnu mantra. Sometimes the Vishnu mantra is called Vishnu Dwara, and the Shiva mantra, that's missing in it. You got it? Okay, because you can't change anything. And the Shiva mantra is called Shivadwar. We find in the Shastras that sometimes the Shivadwar and the Vishnudwar are employed in the fights between the demons and the demigods. The word Suradvisham, which in this verse means of the enemies of the demigods, also refers to the atheists. Srimad Bhagavatam elsewhere says that Lord Buddha appeared for the purpose of bewildering the demons or atheists. The Supreme Personality of Godhead always awards his benedictions to devotees. The Lord himself confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 9:31. Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Vishwarup, who was most liberal, spoke to King Indra Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, the secret hymn that protected Indra and conquered the military power of the demons. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 6th canto, 7th chapter. 6th canto, 7th chapter. Oh, I thought you had your hand up. 6th canto. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 6th canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Indra offends his spiritual master, Brihaspati. Okay, yes, you may. Oh, you moved over here now, huh? We still know who you are, you know.
So this battle with the demon, where does it take place? I mean, the reason of the question is that to the heavens you have to elevate it in consciousness. So how do the demons have access to the heavens?
Well, it's explained either in this section or in another section that I just read, and I can't remember where it is right now, but it'll come to me. That because of the fluctuation of the modes of material nature, it's explained that sometimes the demons have the upper hand by the as of course obviously it's the seventh canto, they have the upper hand because of the expansion of the lower modes of material nature, which are always fighting for supremacy, as Krishna mentions in the 14th chapter. And then we see it by example that Bali and his minions conquered over heaven because of this situation. This is a case in point because of the fall down of the demigods. Now Bali and his gang were able to take over heaven, and there's access everywhere within the material world. It's just that you have to wait for the right time. That's all. And when the modes of rajas and tamas are prominent, then the demons, they have the upper hand. And then when the mode of goodness is prominent, then the demigods. And some people think it's because the Lord favors one over the other, but actually Shukadeva Goswami explains to Parikshit Maharaj in the 7th canto that it's because of the way in which the living entities have their relationship with the modes of material nature.
Sometimes they even duke it out of the earth. Sometimes they even duke it out on the earth. And that's what the Battle of Kurukshetra was all about, actually. The demons from these higher regions and demons from the lower regions and they all took birth and they duked it out, the Battle of Kurukshetra.
So we assume that they can travel from planets, interplanetary. That the demons can travel from one planet to another planet. There is.
Oh yeah, but it was more prominent in the days of yore.
The days of yore. Yeah, other reflections?
Hare Krishna. So this very interesting point was there that for accomplishing specific purpose, one has to accept spiritual master or guru or priest, Purahit. I have just a question. Does it mean that disciple, he also can choose the similar demeanor or the quality of the spiritual master, his mood frame, in order to be able to accomplish his...
Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that it's not necessary. Of course, Prabhupada makes this point also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Kibra Vipa Kripa Nyasi Shudra Kena Noi, that Haribalak Bhakti Vilas says that if there's a Brahmana guru available, somebody born in a Brahmin family, that is, that one should take the Brahman. But Prabhupada said that's for people who are overly materialistic. They make such considerations. So the main point is that one should accept somebody who's qualified in the science of Krishna consciousness. However, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also points out that if somebody is more culturally in tune with the guru, then it may be more compatible. Because, it's just on a normal human level, you can understand more, and there's a relationship that you can go a little deeper into because of that. So that can ultimately, there's no consideration. It's a spiritual point, but how when it is inspired by the guru-disciple relationship. But there are some considerations one can take into account.
We saw that in the pastime of Vidura. We saw that in terms of the relationship between Uddhava and Vidura and Maitreya. Uddhava was far superior spiritually to Maitreya, so much so that when Krishna was speaking to where he left, Maitreya just happened to pass, not happened, it was obviously by Krishna's arrangement, but he came onto the scene. And it's described in the Bhagavatam that Krishna didn't pay that much attention to Maitreya. He kept speaking to Uddhava, but Maitreya heard the instructions to Uddhava, which the last instruction was made him very qualified, made him a pure devotee actually, which he wasn't before he came on the scene there. And then when Uddhava went traveling, he met Vidura, and when Vidura, wanted to surrender to Uddhava by Krishna's arrangement and instruction and from within, he wouldn't let him. But he referred him to Maitreya, who was elder than him, because Uddhava was like son to Vidura compared. So there's that, consideration also. But I think that the example that you were mentioning, that was mentioned in the purport, is a little different. Like if you want to be a great astrologer, you have to have a guru. You can't learn astrology by your own. There's so many devotees who do it nowadays, but they can't get
Siddha.
They can't get siddha. They can't get it's a divinatory science. They can't get the vision. Jyoti means vision. They can't actually see what you can see by properly learning all the rules and regulations and applying them properly without personal gain. That's one example. Musicians, you have to have a guru if you want to learn the sitar or any type of elevated devotional music. So in that sense, but compatibility is another thing. This is one aspect of it that Prabhu was talking about. But there's also compatibility in nature and in, one person may be more compatible with another in terms of guru-disciple. So now we have multitude of, plurality in ISKCON, and not everyone's going to be, attracted in the same way to everybody. But at the same time, on the spiritual level, as he was saying, if you surrender to anyone who's spiritually qualified and do surrender, then even if that material compatibility isn't there, then the deed will be done. The spiritual advancement will be made by the surrender to a bona fide spiritual master.
Other points? Reflections? What do you got going there, Swami Prash?
Not a whole lot of notable.
He's playing curious. Possum. He'll come out anytime. He'll come out swinging anytime now. Come out of his corner. Any other reflections you'd like to make about the chapter, perhaps? I find it to be an extremely instructive chapter. Just what always amazed me about this chapter was that the demons became strong even though their guru was Sukracharya. So, guru is person and also principle. And when one respects the guru principle, even though the guru may be this or that, the power is there that comes through that channel. And that's very evident in this teaching. And also the instruction about not becoming over familiar. This idea is like, we're hanging out. I saw him yesterday, and that was the idea that Indra had. It's like he was just here. What do we got to get down? I did it yesterday, and Prabhupada helped his disciples to overcome that. I know one particular story I remember one particular pastime in which the devotees were coming in, servants in and out of the room. A servant was coming, and each time his obeisance became more abbreviated. So pretty soon he was just like kind of bobbing his head instead of actually doing the obeisance. And then Prabhupada said, "What is this chopping method?" Because it was like, what is the chopping method? It was like it became sort of rote and unimportant. So it seems as though one has to balance that and be careful not to just lose it, with one's guru. Any other?
You just touch you just kind of make a gesture toward the knee, You don't. It used to be bow down. Then it was take the dust from the foot. I'm just saying
It's
in
on.
India, it's
But you got to talk into it.
really.
Yeah.
Is that the way it works?
Yeah, it is.
You got to talk into it. Really? Yeah, I was just making a point that in India, it used to be that everyone would bow down, and then it became touching the feet, and now then it was the knees, and now it's just kind of like, like that. So it's.
Well, it is harder when you get older. I mean, I hesitate to offer full obeisances a lot of times to God brothers, and so because then they'll feel obligated, and I'm like, we read in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita 3 different kinds of obeisance, like one, and then on your knees and head, and then flat out dandavats. Yes, Prabhu.
One point I liked, one gains seniority if he is senior in knowledge.
Yes. It comes up in knowledge and devotion. It comes up in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime when he asks the father, who's senior, you or your son? And the father says, oh no, my son, Raghunandan, he's the actual senior because of his absorption in knowledge.
It is among the Shudras, it's the age which is determines the seniority. Among the Vaishyas is the wealth and
spiritual advancement. Patri. Go ahead and start over again.
It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shraddha Anusari Bhakti Adhikari. It depends on the level of something sublime, because some people can not.
Next 5 minutes, we'll just take any thoughts you have about the readings in general. Any kind of impressions they've been leaving with you, or any of the struggles you've had with them, or what have you taken away so far from the readings? Shri Radhika Maya.
Hare Krishna. I really like how Maharaj Parikshit is perceptive, and there was a long list of build up of what's happening, and this very important section. I find it really interesting, especially about the relationship between guru and disciple, and also with the priest and amongst different sections. All these relationships are very kind of symptomatic of what we're experiencing, what we're going through. So to take note of that and to see what lessons I can apply in my own life, in my relationships with all the people that I'm dealing with, I find it very helpful.
Thank you, Navina. Maharaj had his hand up.
Well, mine's kind of in a similar vein to yours, but I've been really appreciating having done this with Vaisesika Prabhu every year for the past, 16 years. This is 17 today. I mean, this time, how it's maturing, how the level of the discussions
That
are
means
maturing.
we've been sitting here for a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
We sat right here for a year and a half.
That's right. So, and because of that, and also because it's been kind of like a boiling of the milk that Prabhupada used to talk about before he left, especially late 76 and 77. He used to talk about this a lot. Okay, now we have temples, now we need to boil the milk and train the people that we have. And I think that maybe because after Prabhupada left, there was a wave of emotion, of momentum that kept it going in a very, in terms of numbers, in terms of projects, and kind of temple kept on expanding. And then things started to happen that made it more difficult. And this is an extremely important thing that's going on here, in my view, that we need mature preachers to be able to actually do what Vaisesika Prabhu has been saying throughout, practically. And also, I've also thought like that and spoken like this. there's a breed of people coming up. I just saw a little headline somewhere, I can't remember where it was recently, where it said that there's the young adults, the persons who are becoming in adulthood right now, they're really in some ways wiser than other generations before because of the internet and the spreading of the culture and the mixing of culture and so on and so forth. And they're needing more mature wisdom. And when they get this Bhagavatam, that was my experience just before I came. Excuse me for beating, sounding like a broken record. But it's really happening, and there's a huge potential out there if we don't water it down. But at the same time, as he said, with realization, watering down isn't the same as saying it in a mature way according to time and circumstance and place. And if we learn this art, it's a wonderful time, and this is a, what's the word? The laboratory, it's the testing ground, it's something other, I'm looking for another word, but anyway, you get the idea, the basic idea. And I'm very enlivened by this, and very committed to this, and I'm praying that I can do this for the rest of my life.
Well, just a couple of things. One is that I just, in my own reading, I just read the 5th, 6th, and first few chapters of the 7th cantos, coming into Kartik, and then I found out that we're going to read from the 5th and 6th and 7th cantos. So I had kind of a mixed, I mean, of course, I'm always thrilled, but I did have a little pinch that, oh no, I just read that, And then I corrected myself that doesn't make any sense. This would be a nice opportunity to see exactly what it's like to reread something right away. And so it's been really sweet, actually, because it's a different experience to read something so close on the heels of having read it before. And I just want to appreciate that it's been eye-opening. And my second point relates to this, is that now in my readings, our readings, as I'm hearing and reading, I'm able to actually, and I'm trying to actually apply what Prabhupada is saying in my own life as we're going, because less time is spent trying to piece together the philosophy, how this relates to that point, who is this and that. It's more clear what is going on. It's very fresh in my mind. So when Prabhupada says these things about, this is the time factor and it's doing this to you, and you have to give up material attachments, and this, all these things he's saying in these purports that, you can think, oh, I've heard this a million times. I'm thinking, when this is Prabhupada giving me a direct class about how I'm going through my anarthas here in the Dham, my dealings with the devotees, my overeating or whatever I may be going through, and it's been really sweet like that. It's been very, a different kind of levels unfolding, so I'm appreciating that.
Sadhu, sadhu. Oh, one here and then over the Patri.
I think Matt also had his hand up. I wanted to say that I've been appreciating and enjoying as it is every year, it's fun. I like it, when we kind of make fun of the idea that the books can't be edited. It's kind of a theme almost. It's like repeatedly coming up, probably at least 2 times a session, something like that. I like it. It's fun. But I was also just thinking that of kind of maybe the validity. I just want to hear some feedback from this. I was thinking about the validity of people who are, where they're coming from. That we've seen religion so many times, and Krishna talks about himself in Bhagavad Gita how religion is continuously degraded, and the Bibles are changed or this or that, and so people naturally have a fear of things being lost and degraded, and so it kind of makes sense that they're concerned about it, right? But at the same time, we can see how ridiculous it is when we look at it very closely. The kind of, it's almost like sentimental because they don't look into it deeply enough to really see. But at the same time, there is a sort of something genuine there, a genuine concern. I don't know if you want to respond to all to that.
Sure. I think you made a really good point. And most of the time, well, I read a book a while back called How to Win an Argument. In New York. Did you read it? Oh. No, it's small. In any case, one of the points he makes repeatedly in his book about debates, people generally don't know what they're arguing about. They'll start in an argument and somebody will say one thing, the other person will say the other thing, and they get heated about it, and they'll make all kinds of analogies and assumptions and things like that. So he said the most important thing, super rules throughout the, one of the super rules in the book is that always stop and then reassess what you're actually arguing about. So when you said it, validity, of course there's validity. It's a very important subject matter. It's valid, 100% valid. But when we discuss it, it has to be done intelligently, and we have to say, we have to look, what exactly are we talking about? Bandy about these analogies like adding more water, then pretty soon you don't have kind of a, actually look at the details together has a completely wrong meaning. It's not diluting anything, it's making it more, the flavor more lemony. And so what are we be lazy about it and misuse analogies to actually have to see what it is. And then ultimately, when it comes down to these issues, it has to do so much with, because when we're dealing with service and decisions that are being made, it has from authority, and that has to be examined very carefully before everyone jumps in and claims to have equal. Have democracy when it comes to all these kinds of issues, that everybody has an equal right to speak. It's not true anywhere, but especially in our organization, we have everyone has a right to discuss it, but you have to do it intelligently and come up with very specific points. So, thank you.
I wrote this just this morning. I wrote this and sent it to my godbrother, who was there as the coordinator of the discussion on the Sabha about this topic. This was what I said: "Go, go, go, Maharaj." And if I may be so bold, in simple language, the question of which version more fully carries Srila Prabhupada's authority is founded upon whom he had the most faith. Rather than speculating on what Srila Prabhupada thinks about that, take his word for it. All his quotes expressing his faith in Jayadvaita Swami and even exalting him should be showcased. Srila Prabhupada founded his movement on love and trust, didn't he? Along with the factual differences that bring the 72 version closer to what he wanted, the constant reminder of the faith Srila Prabhupada had in him, his obvious loyalty and strictly following of spiritual principles all these years should be drilled into the conversation. Hare Krishna.
Having it be my first time to go through the Bhagavatam, when I first met Maharaj, we did first, second, and we did part of the third canto. Haven't read the fourth yet, and now fifth and sixth. And now it's kind of like that scene in The Matrix where they have the red pill and the blue pill, and you just can't. At first I thought I was just going to check it out, hearing, and now it's like I can't see the world the same way as it did before. And I feel like anyone who reads these books would almost have to develop sort of a psychosis in order to go back into material existence.
Thank you. That was profound. Patri Prabhu.
Thank you. I'm feeling very much glad to get opportunity.
I just want to point out to all of you, it's so
I really would like to appreciate, first of all, the input of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Kesava Bharati Maharaj and team to create this kind of airport at the base, at the lotus feet of Giriraj. Really, it's very long-term vision. Asit Krishna Maharaj, actually, we are very close friends with him, and I really appreciate his dedication to maintain this base for all of preachers who come, and it really has to be given credit to this vision, because it can be appreciated by those who really coming from the battlefield of preaching. And personally myself, when I'm coming here, and it's like bunker, just come with senior devotees, and each and every shloka we actually studying. I'm feeling like we are doing arati to Krishna. It's like worshipping Krishna by other people. They offering ghee lamps and many other things, but we ganadipira bhashvataha yam svanubhavam kilam shuti saram adhyatma deepam. So this is Shukadev Goswami we worshipping, because by this spiritual light of knowledge we are actually worshipping this Damodar month, especially with this Deepak. And it's also a very nice thing as a preachers as well as new people coming, they can learn from each other and charge battery to and from force. And it's some holes are there. I felt like Narada Muni, such a fearless preacher. He just took all the children from Daksha, and he fearlessly came back to give him blessings also. It's something like to slam somebody in the face, okay, and I want to do something, help you. Anyway, this very fearless preachers give me experience in guru-disciple, also the relationships, as well as I really want to appreciate the company of friends like Navina Prabhu and just other devotees. We can meet them sometimes only once in a year, and this is a hub, what is called a hub, when we can just meet together on the ground, and get more deeper, and to get better recharge even for short time. Tulaya malavina pina swargam na punarbhava bhagavat sangha sangasya. My deep gratitude and appreciation. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our reading today. Thank everyone who joined us online from various places around the world, and everyone who came and is staying here at the ashram or nearby just so they can be present for the readings. Thank you very much for your presence. We will take up the reading again tomorrow at 10:45, and we'll have a normal day. And the day after, which is the 3rd, some of us are going to Vrindavan because we got a couple classes to do over there, and including Bhagavatam class.
Short show of hands who would like to go to Vrindavan, who would need transportation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
What? 2. Daily double. It's a bus. Patri has a helicopter?
We have 2 cars with 7 seats. 2 cars with 7 seats each?
We got 14, so
14 seats.
Get a little bus.
We can't schedule that to check with you. I did. I did. Where?
Standing in the bus.
Gaur Premanand, more logistics? Okay. Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Bo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalpadrishta kripasanaveva patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnavindiki jai. Dream Bhagavatam. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Shlokas. 10 minutes. Naktari Armarman, Naktari Armarman. Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, hey, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman.